Alright. I need to talk to everyone who still believes that we should all receive free college, or free education as a whole. Now, this is going to be mostly about college, as, of course, some education is essential in today's world. In the technological globe we live in, we are no longer all, or mostly, farmers being taught how to raise crops and livestock by stable, loving families. As for grade school, meaning from kindergarten up through middle school and maybe high school, high school is on the edge as far as I'm concerned, as kids are still quite young when they enter, and maybe a few more years isn't terrible. I think the way high school is run is terrible. And for my rant on that, you should check out my Teach Smarter, Not Stricter videos. I would also like you to go and watch Stefan Molyneux's Don't Go to College video, or the podcast from freedomainradio.com. What he has to say, even in just the first few minutes, sums it up pretty well. I quote, "If college becomes free, everyone will want to go. If everyone goes to college, a college degree becomes meaningless." And it already almost is. Think about how much money a college education costs. Tens of thousands of dollars. And when you graduate, unless your parents have paid the entire cost, which, given that it's becoming harder and harder for parents to make and save enough money to do so, and the fact that they had to take out loans themselves to do so, even if they did pay, or you stacked up enough scholarships to reduce that cost or eliminate it, very, very difficult to do, as most scholarships don't subtract that much. You won't be making nearly enough money right away to pay that off for many, many years or even decades. Not to mention, having to divert your money to paying off college debt removes your ability to save money for your family and your future. Saving money for the future is extremely important, far more so than young people are ever taught in school, because in the world anything can happen. I went to college and I did well. I graduated with a 3.5 GPA and a bachelor's degree in environmental science, which I picked because I had always loved the earth sciences so much. I loved studying the evolutionary history of the planet, from the Cambrian explosion of life to the rise of dinosaurs to the human evolution. I like that all right. Dinosaurs and other prehistoric predators were always much more my thing. But as well as how geology and ecology shape our world, and branching off into resource management, policy, and planning. So there is a range of things I can do with that. I just have to be inventive and not too picky. And I'm working at several places throughout the week right now. No one of them that big a job, but trying to build a foundation for my life's career. So my choice wasn't because I'm some tree hugger hippie. My parents were. But, well, they were actually get high on pot hippies. And they never learned to keep a stable family. So I'm also trying hard to figure out how to not make the mistakes that they did. Making some of my own, sure, but hopefully it won't be as devastating. Too early to tell if that's wishful thinking or not. Anyway, where were we? Oh, after college careers, yes, and college as a whole. So, for those of you watching or listening who went through college, tell me, were the classes really that were really much different from high school classes. Maybe a little more detailed, but in the end, it wasn't another 4-6 years and tens of thousands of dollars more useful. No. I can tell you my college years sure weren't worth what they cost. And, if what you get turns out to be not worth what you paid for, you feel you got ripped off. That's what college is these days. A complete rip-off of the students and their parents. It drains your income, it drains your savings, it causes extreme financial tension in families. And for what? To protect the kids? To continue delaying adulthood by sheltering them when they're 18, early 20s? For how long? This is not shielding children, it's holding them back. We've reached a point where usually college is a hindrance in life, not helpful. I think what's going to need to happen for the next few decades, decades, is that young people need to refuse to go to college. What you should do while you're in high school is, and I wish I'd realized this when I was in high school, but, when kids try and ask the question of what the point of all these years of school are, they're told it's an investment in their future and their future income. And I was not world savvy enough to dispute that yet at the time. I am now, and a lot of young adults who were in high school in the early 2000s now are. And guess what? This investment in your future is a lie. I think employers are going to start to see a college degree as a minus rather than a plus, if they haven't already, which means that most people in college now are just wasting their time, sadly. And it's not their fault when the schools from 1st grade to 11th grade are all telling them that to succeed in life, they need to get into a good college. That too is a lie. There are 3 basic rules, as one of my favorite speakers, Ben Shapiro, points out, to not being permanently poor in the United States, and probably much of the Western world, while it's somewhat still standing at least. And they are: finish high school, keep a job for a year, maintain a stable foothold on your employment, and prove to be a reliable, diligent worker. The last thing is don't have a baby before you're married. That last one I will address separately from this video because that's a whole branch of discussions in and of itself. So while you're in high school, work on the first 2. Stay in high school and graduate. You don't have to graduate as an A student or an advanced placement student. You really don't. In fact, you should strive to be a B student. If you work enough to get B's consistently, you'll get a few A's along the way, and you'll be fine. In the meantime, get a job as a teenager. It's perfectly reasonable to get a part-time job. Just get something. And it can also be a volunteer position if it must, as jobs for teenagers are hard to come by, I know. But start building a basis for being known to be a reliable hard worker. Get an income if you can, and start working your way through the work world. Don't go to college. Not in the current world, not in the current economy, unless you're going for something extremely specialized, such as law or engineering or medicine. Although, to be honest, I have quite a few issues with the law and medical fields. But the point is, unless that level of further education is absolutely necessary, don't pursue a college education. It's only going to hold you back. Now, there is a possibility that the government, in order to save their educational system, the state colleges, these high schools, and their ridiculous competition for standardized test scores that actually gives them no clue as to what challenges their students, their children, are actually facing. I always hated those so much. And right now, my younger brother is having to deal with them. The youngest of my 4 siblings, a sister, will also have to next year. And I feel so sorry for them. I've been trying to say something to their school, but their school doesn't want to talk to me, even though I'm an alumnus. Figures. I hope one day we'll do away with those. So, there is the chance that the government will try and make college degrees necessary for all fields. In fact, the only reason so many young people, myself included, regrettably, went to or are going to college is because it's listed on a piece of paper as a requirement for your first adult job. I'll tell you what's going to happen if they try to push that further. It's not going to work. It's going to be unsustainable. You keep new workers delayed in colleges for too long, you're not going to be able to sustain the productivity of the city, the state, or the nation. And it will all fall apart.